before I do my duty of calling my co-panelists on stage, I first of all would like to thank TRIMA, TMA, and the Ambassador T.P. Srinivasan, Mr. Padma Kumar, and Wing Commander Rageshwari Nair, because there has been a lot of thought which has gone into conceiving this two-day program. As Group Captain Madan told in the morning today, that very rarely does a management convention focus on such an essential theme, which is essential to all of society, every individual, every family in society. So I would compliment the organizers for being prescient and visionary in their approach. With that, let me get into my task of inviting my esteemed co-panelists on stage. Let me begin with the lady in my group, Ms. Latha Indira, who is the founder member of People for Animals from Trivandrum. She's been with PFA since its inception in July 1996 and has been a trust board member of PFA since April 99. She's secretary since 2015. The key thing to note, it is people for animals, not animals for people. You know, the appropriate emphasis is very clearly placed, and when you hear her, I'm quite sure you'll be completely blown away by the clarity and the passion of what she brings in her field and to the whole topic and theme that we have today. Welcome, Ms. Latha Indira. So please welcome her. Next, I have the pleasure of inviting Dr. Sabu Thomas, who spent 28 years at RGCBT as faculty and primary principal investigator, focusing on molecular biology of bacterial pathogens of the GI tract and chronic wound infections, antimicrobial resistance, biofilm. I don't know how many people are aware. We had such an exciting quiz session earlier. If we go into biofilms, I think that's a point which not many people may be aware of. But in addition to that, the human microbiome. He was a member of the second Indian Arctic expedition team, which went to the Arctic region and studied the polar microbiome and bioprospecting potential of microbes. It's a very rare combination of skills he brings to the table and perspective, and has contributed substantially to the polar science research in India. As a member of the global task force of the WHO, he was instrumental in preparing a roadmap to control cholera by 2030. Currently, he serves as the founder director of the Center for Excellence in Microbiome, a new initiative of the Government of Kerala. Loud round of applause for Dr. Sabu Thomas. Finally, I have great pleasure in welcoming my old friend, Mr. A.V. Anoop, MD of AVA Group of Companies, industrialist behind powerhouse brands like Medimix, Melam, Sanjeevanam, a film and stage actor, author, producer, documentary maker, a man connected with society in all its colors. Welcome, Anoop. So, we are running a little behind time. I would give some opening remarks. If, as time permits, we'll go into a spot question and then leave it to the audience to engage with the speakers. When you look at One Health and wellness, the word wellness itself has to be understood in all its dimensions. Earlier, we had in the morning, we had a speech on how AyurVAID approaches it. But before we get to that, when you look at foundational civilizational concepts like the tree of life, springs from that one single cell microbe which was there in one of the trenches in the Pacific Ocean. From there, a single cell became two-cell, then multi-cell, and then became a full-fledged amphibian, then came on to land, and then how it evolved over a period of an estimated 4.35 billion years. Right? The human species is all of Homo sapiens, the species that we all belong to, is all of 200,000 years old. Till about 6 years back, our species was supposed to be only 40,000 years old. Now, research shows 200,000 years old. But 200,000 years, as again Dr. Madan spoke about the relative time scales in which we operate. We live 70 to 100 years. And look at the span of life on this earth, 4.35 billion years, right? The orangutan or you go back to the apes, or you look at the gorilla, is only 7.5 million years back. Australopithecus, 4.5 million years back. So if you look at life itself, because we sometimes forget this sense of history and how life has evolved on this planet. It has come through a unique confluence between nature and life. That which learned to live in harmony with nature survives to this day. The other species became extinct. So we tend to forget in this tendency to say man can control the environment, man can control other species, our role in this tree of life, right? We are just one more species in that millions of species which is there. Today, when you go back, when you look back at the fact that how many of us, whether we live in urban environments or rural environments, can imagine jumping into a column, into a pond, look at a toad which is running, the fish which is nibbling at your feet. Even if it is there, do we have the time to do that? So what is wellness? How do we define it? How distant are we from the environment that we are part of? So I bring this up not in terms of just the physical distanciation, but also mental distanciation which has come in. There was a famous book, Blind Watchers of the Sky, where Thomas Kepler talks about the fact we look at the skies every day, we look at the stars, but we just don't relate to it. It's just something out there. This is today the framework in which we look at One Health, right? Which is Anthropocene world, where we are the center of the universe and we control everything which is there. In that part, the fact that, and very interestingly, I just was very happy to see Technopark here, because 23 years back, we had a byline called the greenest technopolis in the world or something like that. So we looked at what really would attract people to come to Kerala. And I just want to touch upon it because it's very central to One Health and wellness. So we looked at it, we looked at various words, inspiration at work, okay, not perspiration at work, inspiration at work, and so on. Incidentally, inspiration at work was adopted by GE in 2001. Technopark adopted harmony at work. That still is there, you will see it is still there 23 years later. And what we felt was that Kerala offers that unique confluence of multiple elements where people can work in harmony. Harmony within, harmony outside. Quite antithetical, quite opposite to what people outside Kerala believed about Kerala. So when we look at it today, when you look at climate change, you look at One Health, what seems to be emerging very clearly is the path to realistic utopia. Paradise seems to be lost, but the path to that, what you call not the idealist utopia, but what you call a realist utopia, where population stabilizes and why the carbon, the carbon fuel consumption goes down, overall environment and man and animal balance is achieved, is not far away, it is achievable. But a lot of pain we'll have to undergo. Maybe Kerala and societies like Kerala, which are very densely populated and has a lot of movement of people within the boundaries, within and without the boundaries. So when you look at boundaries being transgressed, right, we have to also look at one very important thing. What are the cultural factors? Because why we bring this up, in looking at purely in terms of pathogens, we forget the fact there are huge economic, sociological, and very interesting talk at Harvard School of Public Health, that what they see today, increasingly, Ambassador Srinivasan, a culture of intolerance, arrogance, and then the fact that the change in values, even misogyny, right, is springing from the fact that there is a certain sense of insecurity amongst people. So they're telling, when I look at One Health itself and pandemics, etc., which is coming, a lot of it is man-made because of this arrogance and because of this mental positions that people are taking. So, and unfortunately, the poor are more affected than the well-off in this whole bargain, as we all know. The word Jagat is very important to understand, that Jagat is that which moves, that which is ever-changing. In the context of One Health, what you have to realize, there is this entire paradigm of that which, the paradigms of being and becoming. You have to realize that everything in nature is in the process of changing and transformation. This is ancient wisdom, very valid even today. In this process of change which is happening, can I look at a single cause, single effect paradigm? Or do I need to look at it from a systems approach, where whether I look at any living organism, an animal, or I look at a human being, I look at society, I look at any system, I look at Kerala as a system, and I look at everything outside Kerala as an exosystem. And this interaction between the exosystem and the system which we have here. How do we look at this interaction? Systems thinking allows us to approach this matter not in a unidimensional way, reductionist way, but in a mature, all-encompassing way, which takes into account all the possible determinants of the one health or the health of that system. And therefore you come to the point of systems resilience. We are so caught on simple answers to problems that tell me there is a one health issue. I have a new Nipah virus or a bird flu or some, cow's disease or, monkey's disease, monkeypox disease. We look immediately for a pat answer in terms of give me an antiviral, antibiotic vaccine. Can we look at it in terms of the ability of the host to rebound when it is beset by a destabilizing force? How as a society, when we look at Kerala, how resilient is the health capability of this society before we look at things outside? So one core point I would like to bring in is before we look at enemies without, can we look at the strength within, the ability to rebound from those things come, right? And what defines that? Today, Kerala is supposed to be the healthiest state amongst things. In fact, if you look at data among states, Kerala is being fast. I think in the morning, Mr. Hanish did speak about the fact that other states, the Bimaru states, are no longer Bimaru. They're catching up quickly on very, very objective parameters scale. But look at Kerala. Some data which came through recently, 2/3 of people between 40 to 69 are either pre-diabetic or diabetic. Right? 40%. I mean, these are huge numbers for a society today. That's the context in which we're talking about One Health. So we need to understand that let's go away from an enemy outside to look at our strength, building our internal strength. In this context, when you look at wellness itself, right? Today morning, there was this mention of what is the AyurVAID concept of wellness and well-being, right? But let's look at the fact that it is not the absence of disease, which WHO posited in 1976, and which AyurVAID, as long back as 600 BC, posited very eloquently. The presence of positive characteristics, right? So it was, the sloka was chanted. So the key part, the physical, mental, spiritual, equilibrium. Now, in this context, there's a word called homeostasis, which I should bring it here, because as we speak about it, when we had the COVID come and attack, why did so many people die? Was it because some were not able to respond to the destabilizing biological process, biochemical processes which were triggered by the virus? So when you look at homeostasis, which incidentally, the whole concept in modern medicine dates back to something like 1860, 1870. A French physiologist first brought up that concept. AyurVAID talks about this most clearly as the state of swasthya, the state of health and well-being, the presence of positive parameters. Samadosha, samagnischa, samadhatu malakriya, prasanna atma indriya manaha, swasthya iti abhidhyate, right? So this is what is the state of good health and well-being. Do we look at ourselves, our families, our communities in terms of the presence of these positive parameters? I'll quickly touch upon this and conclude this part of the speech, that we did a study of about 20,000 individuals who were visiting our centers. What we found, 46% were reporting either depression or anxiety, some type of mental lack of equilibrium, sleep disturbance, insomnia, about 40%, digestive disorders, about 36%. So today you have a situation where when you look at wellness itself, we need to go beyond conventional parameters to look at the presence of positive functional health. And in this context, we have a very harsh environment changing. We have diet and lifestyle changes. And that's very important to understand that we don't get stuck only on, as we told, on external enemies, but the choice of diet and lifestyle, the changes which I'm sure we'll hear. I want to just touch upon one more point and conclude, which is the role of what you call the trigunas in Ayurveda or in our ancient systems of thinking. Today, if you look at it, the choices that are being made increasingly by society would spring from what you call the rajasic and the tamasic approaches. Today, earlier, I was talking to somebody else, and the kind of food choices society is making, young, middle-aged, old, it's without any sense of being aware when we make those choices. Clearly an indication of the mind being either overburdened with thoughts or completely dulled in darkness, tamas. How do we move to a society which is more clear in thinking, sattvic? It does not mean any value position, religious position. It just means, irrespective of who the individual is, does he operate from a position of clarity? When you look at, finally, health and wellness, we cannot ignore that one science or system of medicine cannot do it all. We need to look at integrative medicine. That is the future, because depending on and particularly when people have multi-morbidities, multiple diseases, not a single disease, right? Bulk of people have multiple issues. And rather than treat them one by one, we need to look at whole person care, whole person medicine. We need to look at the fact that how does each system bring its strengths at different stages in true patient-centric health concepts. With this point, I will stop here, reminded of a sloka from the AyurVAID, right, which says, Om Dhau Shantihi, Antariksha Shantihi, Vanaspatir Shantihi, Apa Shantihi, Vishwadeva Shantihi, Brahma Shantihi, Sarvam Shantihi. And then it says, so what it essentially says is, may the heavens prevail, peace prevail in the heavens. Peace is in the heavens, peace is in the antariksham, peace is in water, peace is in the vanaspati, which is in the plant kingdom. And the fact that may peace be amongst the gods, and may we be at peace, and may peace prevail everywhere. The context of man relating to environment fundamentally, right? In different ways, we have been talking about this over the days, but I think we need to realize it's a mindset change. With these opening remarks, I would now invite Dr. Sabu Thomas to stand from his particular vantage point and to share what he believes is the way forward in One Health and Wellness. Thank you.
Respected dignitaries on and off the dais, and all the delegates, participants, all those who are assembled here. I just wanted to highlight some of the points that is involved in the One Health approach, and also to introduce a new center owned by the government of Kerala in Thiruvananthapuram, the Center of Excellence in Microbiome. This is for the first time I am visiting for this particular meeting, so I think better to introduce the center also to this auspicious audience. So as far as the microbiome is concerned, why we all are assembled here? In order to address some of the global issues. What are the major global issues that faced by the community or the population or the decision makers? First priority will definitely go to the poverty and the loss of biodiversity and the antimicrobial resistance, and some other features are also be identified. So based on this, how the One Health approach can focus on this? Yeah, yearly the global leaders by the WHO and other leading agencies will conduct some summit to discuss all these major global issues, and then only they recommended the one approach, One Health approach. So based on this One Health approach, how we can proceed, or how we can do something connected to the state of Kerala. I'm just focusing initially on the microbiome in one of my slides. Here, the One Health and the Wellness. What about the role of the microbiome? As you are aware, what is the microbiome? The microbes are the tiny molecules or the tiny units of life that exist everywhere or that is ubiquitous in nature, irrespective of the environment or the conditions, whatever the land or the aquatic, everywhere you can see that. And these microbes plays a major role even in the existence of the life on this biosphere or this planet. That is the basic thing I just wanted to highlight. But the people are not making such an awareness that the microbes are playing a major role. But in all our spheres, the microbes plays very important role, even in the animal biosphere or in the plant or in the environment, in the human, in all these cases. The microorganisms, generally the bacteria and the fungi and the viruses, these are called the microorganisms. It can be divided the beneficial and harmful. The scientists and the decision makers are aware of the pathogen so far because it is we are also living in the middle of the COVID pandemic. But there is another group of bacteria, the beneficial microbes, that is giving wonderful experiences giving to the mankind for their existence in this life. One of the major is the essential for the healthy ecosystems. You know, the microbes, by recycling the nutrients available in the different compartments and also the carbon nitrogen cycling, this has made a major role. And ranging from the nutrient cycling, waste decomposition and the antibiotic production, so much of microbes are playing along this. And these are actually, as the moderator suggested, 3.4 billion years ago, these microbes came into this existence. At that time, you know the temperature of the biosphere. So based on that, it is evolved into different environments like the deep sea, from the hot springs or even to the polar environments, the Arctic and the Antarctic. So initially the people are believed that the microbes are minute or microscopic, it can cause diseases alone. But later on, when the research is coming up, it can produce the biofilm. The microbes lives in two different forms. One is the planktonic form and the other one is the biofilm form. All our existing current antibiotics are discovered based on its planktonic mode of life. But at the same time, these microbes can live in the biofilm form also. That means it can produce something exterior to its outside. That is the extrapolymer matrix. Based on that, its total transcriptomic and the proteomic, all things will change. That is one of the major reason nowadays the people are facing the antimicrobial resistance. That means because of this biofilm, the bacteria can resist the entry of antibiotic available, that prevents the entry of the antibiotic into its body. And another interesting phenomenon met with the microbial world is it can also communicate just like our metazoans. The bacteria with its single cell, it can do all the metabolic activities just like the metazoan that we are doing with multicellular things. That is one is called the quorum sensing and or the cell communication by producing certain auto-inducers to the environment. So based on all these recent findings, people are trying to develop something out of this bacterial world. That comes into the microbiome or the microbiota. The microbiome and the One Health, no need of any more explanation for this because the COVID-19 pandemic well explained the need of or the importance of the interdisciplinary studies of these three different compartments like the animal health or the environment and the human. If you wanted to do something for the health or the well-being or the wellness of the human, we wanted to protect where we are living, all the organisms. That means our immediate surroundings, the animal world and also the environment and all, covering all the ecosystems around us. So how the microbiome serves as a unifying factor for the One Health. The microbiome, the microbiome inhabiting in human. I can't say, take much more time, so we'll make some points on that. The microbiome in the human, starting from the top to bottom, in your body, the microbes are present. Only few of them are causing diseases and all others are beneficial. The major one is the gut microbiome, that is the gut microbiome, which is considered as an invisible organ in the body. In the textbook, you can't see, you have the diagram of the human organs. The major organs like liver, kidney, all those organs are labeled. But you can't see one such invisible organ, that is because of the microbial world inhabiting our intestine, which meant for performing different functions for the existence of this life. The gut, skin, oral and the vaginal microbiome, even in the breast milk of the mother's microbiome, good microbes are present as the probiotics. Then this performing by producing the beneficial metabolites. Many of the good microbes are producing chemical molecules or the metabolites or the enzymes. Even the multicellular human can't produce that kind of enzymes produced by the microbes. So here we are planning to exploit or explore the possibilities how we can tap the specialized enzymes or the metabolites produced by these good microbes or the beneficial microbes. That is what one of our motto. Then the microbiome and the animal health. Microbiome plays major role in the zoonotic diseases. Everybody knows about the COVID pandemic, how it starts and from where it starts and how it became a global pandemic. And the microbiome and the environmental health. Yeah, you know the soil microbiome. Everywhere it is present, the microbes present in the soil is performing a wonderful job by recycling this kind of thing. If some kind of calamities or the climate change or the flood, if it happens to the nation or to the country, that will wipe out the existing microbiome. That will also make some sort of changes to the existing flora and fauna in the terrestrial ecosystem. And the microbiome and the food system, the food safety, microbes are the fermented food. I just wanted to highlight one point here. In the state of Kerala nowadays, the food habit is totally changing. Even in the olden time, our forefathers are used the so-called initially the palangini. You people are aware of that. The senior people may not be aware of the palangini or the curd or the fermented food and all those things. But nowadays the people are running behind the street food and also the Arabian food like the kulimandi or something like that. But the studies clearly state that our system of the metabolites or our system of the physiological system is definitely dependent on the food that is available in the tropical region. Since we are living in the tropical region, our microbes are also well adapted to make that kind of metabolism. So actually we need the food from our own tropical area. The other food that we are the current trend is not recommended for a good microbiome. And the microbiome involved in the energy cycle and the digestion of the food and absorption of energy of animals and all the domains. As you know, the issue that is happening in the climate change. Yeah, the people are aware of the melting of the ice in the polar region, in the Arctic or in the Antarctic. What happens during this climate change? Yeah, sometimes the people are expecting some kind of flood in the nearby ocean. Not only that, in the permafrost or in this kind of ice frost, the carbon source is deposited there and the microbes inhabiting this particular area is inactive. When it is undergoing thawing or the melting, the ice, the microbial, the bacteria or the viruses present in that particular environment is active and the decomposition of this deposited carbon occurs and which produces the other greenhouse gases effect. Example, the carbon dioxide and all. So, indirectly or directly, the microbes present in the ocean or in the permafrost in the polar regions also plays a major role. Nowadays, the scientists are working on that, how it is happening. But there is no such detailed investigation has been done so far. Many such Arctic stations and Antarctic stations are there to do this kind of studies. We'll come to the microbiome research. The microbiome research is showing a rising trend when we are looking into the 10 years program. In 2025-24, many such publications are coming up. The center, we will say a few words about the Center of Excellence in Microbiome. We are covering all the major domains, the human, animal agriculture, and the environment and aquaculture by using the metagenomic or the other whole genome sequencing, big data generation studies, followed by the research and development as one compartment, followed by the investigating the possibilities of startups by making use of these microbes. That means finally we are planning to establish a microbiome industry in the state by using the products or the pathways that we are studying or identified. These are the objectives. That becomes a significant global center that coordinates interdisciplinary research and entrepreneurship, cross-domain collaborations. This will also act as a common platform, looking for other groups doing the similar type of investigations in the state. And the spatiotemporal mapping of the microbiome data, utilizing the big data generation technologies like the metagenome sequencing and all. The vision, this is about the vision to understand the microbial system and how we can explore. The state of Kerala is considered, we have the ocean shore, the shoreline is there, and different types of aquatic biotopes, both brackish water and the marine and the freshwater, and indigenous forest. Many such biotopes are available. We are trying to explore the possibilities to tap the different types of useful microbes present even in the state. And also we are planning to establish the fecal microbiota transplant. I think you people are aware of that. Now in United States, the people are using the stool and they are establishing the stool bank and developed one app, and they are giving this kind of collecting the stool without any pathogens and transplanting this to the patients. The stools collected from the normal people are transplanted to the patients. That is what is called the stool transplant. And they are established just like the other banks, the gen banks and all. Yeah. The stool banks are also there. I will sum up. So what I am suggesting, the microbiome is crucial for the One Health and the wellness. Wellness, as you know, not the only thing, not the health alone. The physical, mental, environmental, all this covers the wellness. So all these things, the confer microbiome in all domains of our sustainable for a future. So the doctors may be aware of that. All diseases begin in the gut. It was done by stated by the Hippocrates, the modern medicine, father of the modern medicine, in 460 BC. Now we are planning to we wanted to rephrase all diseases and its cure begin in the gut. Not only the diseases, that the diseases we can cure by utilizing the microbes inhabiting the intestine, the gut microbes. This is about I just wanted to thank you. Thank you all.
Thank you very much, Dr. Sabu.
Thank you.
If I request Ms. Latha Indira to just come and share her perspective, please.
Good evening, everyone. I like to share some of the thoughts and insights maybe which I have gained by not from any kind of scientific study, but by working with people for animals in taking care of animals over a period of maybe 26 years. Over these years, we have come across a lot of problems and problems in the grassroots level. Like we are actively handling animals on the ground. So I would like to share with you some concerns and maybe possible solutions for the day-to-day conflicts and the day-to-day issues related to animals, especially in the control of disease and also I would like to talk to you about some peaceful coexistence with these animals, because it is only by retaining a healthy population of animals around us that we will be able to live a healthy life. And the management of any town, city, or any state or any country or the world itself is incomplete without managing the animals around us. So, I would just like to tell you something which might shock you. We are dependent on these animals for our food and many other purposes, including companionship. And what is appalling actually is that Trivandrum, which has more than 90% of non-vegetarian population, does not even have a single licensed scientific slaughterhouse. There is almost no screening for animals which come in from outside states, and we in Kerala, we do not breed cattle. Cattle breeding is not really much of a livelihood in Kerala, but most of the food animals which we use for daily consumption are coming from outside Kerala. And there is no screening at all in the checkpost when we bring these animals inside. There is almost no screening, and there is no system for quarantining animals which are found to be suspected of disease. There is no infrastructure to take care of animals which are found diseased. As I'm talking to you about this, we know that thousands of ducks are being culled in a place called Niranam in Pathanamthitta because they are suspected of H5N1. So every year in Kuttanad and the surrounding areas, this operation happens. Almost like every year during the months of November, December, this happens. But has any research gone into finding out why these recurrent infections are happening? We always tend to blame it on migratory birds. But what I understand by doing my own little investigation is that the migratory birds are not actually responsible for this, because all the bird watching groups operational in that area have given us the information that none of the migratory birds were found dead or in a diseased state at that time. So how much, most of our health is dependent on the food we eat. So how much do we care about having a healthy livestock population or a healthy poultry population or anything which we eat for that matter? And now there is also the kind of craze for exotic food like frog meat, whatever. You go to the local toddy shop and you will find a lot of exotic things if you really know where to look for them. So are there any controls on all these things? So how can we be sure that we are eating healthy? So that is one thing which I would like to say. How prepared are we to prevent and control any infection which might happen? Actually, we are not prepared at all, because for any government as such, animal welfare is not a priority. Animal welfare is actually human welfare, as the slogan of Animal Welfare Board goes. We know that a lot of we are totally dependent on animals and birds for a lot of things. But we do not really bother to establish any systematic control or management, or let it be controlling population, let it be controlling disease. There is no system in place at all in Kerala, and in Trivandrum there is nothing at all actually, because as I told you earlier, we don't even have a proper slaughterhouse. So another thing I would like to say is that there are a lot of animals coming in from other places. I was actually surprised to hear from our Chief Wildlife Warden that there are more than 5,000 applications pending for bringing exotic animals into the state as pet animals. Earlier we used to have dogs, cats and all those animals as pets, and we used to take care of them in a way which we normally ordinary people do. But nowadays there is a craze for exotic animals like iguana, and a lot of animals which come in from Africa, especially Australia and Africa. These animals actually are very healthy and they can survive in an Indian environment. That is what I understood by talking to some experts. So what happens if these animals are let loose, or if these animals go into our environment, if they are let loose? Like, the pet shops and the people and the breeders are mostly responsible for bringing in these animals. And what happens if a buyer just lets these animals loose in our environment? Or suppose they escape captivity, what do we do? Are there any controls established for that? I was also told that in a recent census in the fish population of Periyar River, even piranha was found. You know that it's a dangerous situation. We know how hard it was to take away the African catfish population from our streams and rivers, which were eating up all our native fish. So all these things are there. The issues of invasion, and all these things are there. But there is absolutely no system in place for dealing with all this. Another one issue which you will all be familiar with is the stray dog population control. So there is the ABC program, or the Animal Birth Control Program, which was actually introduced as a law in the Parliament in 2001. So from 2001 till 2006, we continued culling of stray dogs. It is only from 2006 that we started a project for birth control and anti-rabies vaccination. So even from that time, it was like, when we really go into the numbers which have been caught and which have been sterilized, vaccinated and left back into the original habitat, we find that more culling was done under the pretext that they are not healthy animals. We found that about of the 1,050 dogs caught in 2006 for ABC, for ABC, at least 850 of them were killed, saying that they were rabid. So these programs are not taken up by the government, because naturally it is not a priority for the government at all. It is only a few NGOs who are passionately and with a lot of trouble and doing something for these, establishing these systems without any help from the government or from any quarters. So, and we also find that whatever help, although in other fields, a lot of investment is invited from foreign countries and from other sources, from private sources, from companies, CSR funding, for purposes for which the government is finding difficult to procure money. In animal welfare, there is almost no invitation from the government for infrastructure building in the field. There is nobody is invited to invest in animal welfare or in building up an infrastructure for animals. So I don't know why that is, because in 2014, Mission Rabies had come to Kerala with a project for taking care of rabies control, but then they were not encouraged and they left and they went to Goa. And look where Goa is standing now compared to Kerala in rabies control. They have almost achieved zero rabies and we have not progressed anywhere. So what I would like to say is that there has to be a system in place and for dealing with animals and for zoonotic diseases. But building up that system is a very difficult process. It is actually very simple, but since nobody has actually gone into that realm, it is actually lagging behind. And one thing I would like to say is that if there is some support from the government or from private sources like CSR funding, NGOs will do a great job in doing these activities. So I don't know, this has to be taken forward in a way which is beneficial for everyone, because there is a lot of conflict between humans and animals in Kerala, and that attitude has also to be overcome. That attitude can be overcome by sensitizing the media about the necessity to, to tell the people that, as we used to say in the COVID days, there is no need for any fear. You have to be cautious. ജാഗ്രതയാണ് വേണ്ടത്, അല്ലാതെ ഭീതിയല്ല. അങ്ങനെ ഒരു മെസ്സേജ് റേബീസ് കേസസ് വരുന്ന സമയത്തെല്ലാം മീഡിയ they usually drive the people into a frenzy, and the government does something or the other just to pacify the people. What I would say is that there has to be a sustained effort to build up a system and to keep the system running. Thank you.
And thanks, Mr. Palpukumar is also a friend of mine. We had two very interesting talk by two interesting personalities. I came here to speak, but I learned a lot, especially animal side and all. As a businessman, I never thought of the welfare and protection of animals. I frankly admit that. Even yesterday we had a video conferencing. That time also she mentioned about that. See, I do not want to take much of time because it's showing only 10 minutes more for our session. And I'm standing before you as a businessman, and I'm also into film production and to some extent agriculture. So you know our flagship brand is Medimix. Medimix started 55 years back. This is our 55 years of existence. But the founder, Dr. V.P. Siddhan, thought of introducing this soap for human skin care, bacteria-free skin, which helps you to prevent diseases, also to cure diseases. In fact, our product was launched as a prescription product. He was a doctor with the Indian Railways, so the soap was formulated using an Ayurvedic oil which was used in our family for many centuries. So it's all started from there. And 9 years back, we acquired the brand Melam, which again, it is a spice and masala brand for human consumption. And we also started Ayurveda hospitals, a brand called Sanjeevanam in Kochi, and in Chennai also we have. In fact, a few years back, about 20 years back, I had a restaurant for vegetarian health restaurant here named Kadalivanam. Those who are in Thiruvananthapuram, you must have heard about in Palayam. So it's all started from there, because I wanted to do an experiment and do something for human health. So it's all started from there. That again experimented, and then the Sanjeevanam concept came into practice. And in our Sanjeevanam hospital, we give very specialized food, which is very tasty also. That's important. So it's all started from there. And I also do some farming in Chennai, organic farming, which is not viable as an individual when I look at it. Because in Kerala, we always talk about getting good vegetables. Vegetables are all coming from Tamil Nadu, but all with the pesticides and poison. But I always used to say that there is a way to solve this problem. Even Thiruvananthapuram Management Association can take a lead. We need not do farming in Kerala, but very good fertile lands are available in Tamil Nadu for a cheaper price or lease. So we can organize in an organized way, keeping all our Pravasi Malayalis, we can do large scale farming in Tamil Nadu or Andhra and bring it to Kerala. There is a possibility, because after acquiring Melam brand, then only I realized the problems the industry is facing here. You might have come across some many issues or news about in the social media about leading brands are having pesticides FSSI department has initiated action against the companies and all. But the fact is that in our country, more than 100 pesticides are allowed to use for farming. Whereas there is limits, the limits are not fixed. We say codex rules and all, but most of the cases, certain pesticides are even not known to us. When we test only, we find that pesticide is there in the product. So these are all the areas where we need more attention. Government also should initiate some control over usage of pesticides. And the agriculture area, we need to develop new agriculture practices. So in production, lot of changes are taking place. Good production, manufacturing practices are followed by even Ayurveda companies now. Good laboratory practices have come into existence. So similarly, good agriculture practice has to come to our country, especially in Kerala, to overcome these issues. With this, I would like to talk something about Ayurveda. Ayurveda, Mr. Rajiv also mentioned here. In fact, he is a leader in that Ayurvedic industry in India. Now he has tied up with Apollo Group, and Apollo name is used. He has connected me to Mr. Pradapa Reddy recently, and I had a very detailed discussion with the chairman of Apollo Hospital. He is also in favor of Ayurveda, and he was telling me that with his 50 years of clinical practice, he used to refer patients to Ayurveda treatments, and he found it's very, very effective, and he believes in Ayurveda. So to promote this, I have decided to produce one documentary. Now I am in the process of producing an English documentary to present this before the world outside India, because we have 5,000 years of tradition. It's a traditional medical practice. But again, like what I told about these spices, in social media, we find that almost every day there is an intentional attack against Ayurveda, mentioning that it is not a scientific one and all. But after involving in this production of this documentary, I found that there are a lot of good practices happening in here. Research is taking place, clinical evidences are there, good manufacturing practices people are following. Most of the leading Ayurvedic companies are having good laboratories, research facilities, and there are some big foundations, even outside Kerala, also doing research and publishing papers, even diseases like cancer. Tata has a foundation in Pune where they do a lot of research and practice, and they say that it is, the results are very encouraging. So, this year, I have taken it as a mission to complete this project. I am traveling even outside India to meet the scholars, the doctors who practice Ayurveda outside, and also I met WHO officials. Even WHO has a traditional medicine center in Jamnagar. I went there to Jamnagar and met Dr. Geeta Krishnan, the head of that, and he has also guided me. So these are all my personal attempt in this area, in the wellness area. In fact, 2 months back, I had an opportunity to attend an international conference in Brussels, European Parliament. The conference was held in European Parliament. And to my surprise, the major focus was on Ayurveda. They wanted to know how Ayurveda can be practiced in European countries, integrating with the modern medicine and what benefit they get in terms of health and also in terms of money. And the discussions, they were mentioning that if Ayurveda is introduced properly in European countries, they can save 400 billion euro. That's what I heard during the discussions. So this wellness area, we have to create a lot of awareness, and it should start from us. Every one of us should think about our wellness. Because in Ayurveda, Panchakarma is for preventing diseases and also to cure diseases. So when they come, they used to ask me how we can avoid this hospitalization, taking medicines, and to maintain our weight, to avoid our diseases. I used to say food is our culprit. Already the previous speaker mentioned about that. So I used to tell them, one simple exercise I can suggest, which all of you can practice. And those who practice yoga, they all know that we do neck exercises also. We rotate our head and we do this left and right and all. But this particular exercise, what I am suggesting is just right turn and left turn. You can practice it any number of times, whenever you want. But in particular, whenever someone offers you delicious food, try this. You can continue to be with good health, avoid all diseases. So practice moderate food, moderate exercise, and good sleep. Thank you.
We got a very interesting different perspective. In the interest of time, from a corporate perspective, I was reminded of Paul Pullman, who used to be the former chairman of Unilever globally. So he, many years back, said that responsibility for the environment and corporate social responsibility should not be a department in the company, but it should be the company. The whole company should be devoted or should be aligned to the largest societal value. So, and what happened was Unilever had astounding business results. So one thing that TMA might realize that bringing One Health and Wellness responsibility to society, to employees. So when you look at ESG, we tend to get very, just for the ESG audit, we might go about it. But can we really open our eyes and empower our employees? So what Paul Pullman said at that point was, how can we have a new generation of fearless corporations which are net positive, who give more than they take from society, number one. Financial returns balance with social impact. These things, can we look at it? Because, and this cannot come only with a couple of people at the top. It has to be the whole organization, all employees being very aware, participating, engaging with society. If tomorrow PFA needs volunteers, can employees of the TMA membership volunteer on weekends and participate and spread awareness? Because we cannot sit and just come one day a year and then, hope that things will change. So I think corporate sector can come together and empower ourselves to do better. We run out of time. I don't know if you have anybody is thirsting to ask questions. You could ask if one question, or otherwise we'll have to limit our session for today. Thank you very much to my panelists, all my learned panelists, and thank you very much to TMA for enabling this very valuable session.
Mr. George Koshi, if you would please hand over the certificate to Ms. Latha Indira. I'd like to also call upon Sunita Chandran.